crack myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's. That's different. I really like that. They're like together, like peas and carrots. That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Peychauds or Peychaud. This is not what I expected. Hey gang, thanks for joining me so late at night. Tom is watching, Kevin's watching. Wow, we got a crowd. This is great. Larry's watching. Hey, how are you? It's a late night Bourbcast on a Monday night. We thought we'd do something special and quick. It's not going to take very long, but I love International Whiskey Day. What's that? I love International Whiskey Day because it gives me an opportunity to try something different, right? We do bourbons and we do, ryes and all that stuff all year long, but we don't get into the other stuff probably as much as I ought to and as much as I want to. I mean, it is called Beautiful Bourbon and what? Good Spirits or something. and Splendid Spirits. So this is a splendid spirit. I will admit that this kind of came out of nowhere. So I really didn't expect to do a Bourbcast tonight. I don't think I was even planning on drinking anything tonight. And then, because I thought International Whiskey Day was August 31st. It was on my calendar as August 31st. And it's still on my calendar as August 31st because I don't intend to let a possibility to celebrate go away, right? So this is just me. Hurry up, I'm about ready to fall asleep. Dude, you can fall asleep at the drop of a hat. You've fallen asleep mid-conversation, so just go ahead, and then you can play it again later, Memorex, when your cat wakes you up nibbling on your toes. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna do Johnnie Walker Double Black. Now, let me just tell you, the Johnnie Walker Blue is probably, now I don't know a lot about a lot of scotches, but the Johnnie Walker Blue is probably my favorite scotch. When I want to celebrate something very, very important, I don't go to the Blantons all the time. I don't go to the E.H. Taylors all the time. Sometimes I'll come to the Johnnie Walker Blue. And this was purchased on a cruise, so we got duty free. And I got two of these. I know, these are like, I don't know, $240, $250 now for one of these bottles. And I don't even think this one's been opened yet. That tells you how much I revere this bottle. So I love the Johnnie Walker Blue. It's one of my favorites. Well, I got told one time that the Johnnie Walker Double Black is a less expensive Johnnie Walker Blue. I like to call it a poor man's Johnnie Walker Blue. I don't think necessarily that characterization is correct. The little bit of research I had time to do today did not reveal that Johnnie Walker Double Black really has that much of a relationship to Johnnie Walker Blue other than the way it's made, right? Malted grains. What a malted grain is you take the grain off the field. The grain may be dry. A lot of times when you take grain off the field, you want it to be dry, right? That'll let it keep longer. If it's got moisture content, it's going to rot. It's going to mold. It's not going to be good for very long. So they dry it as much as possible for the longevity and storage, right? Well, when they want to use it, they need to kind of reverse that process. So they start introducing it to moisture. They start introducing it to heat. And what's a plant going to do? What's a seed going to do? It's going to start to sprout, right? Once it does that, it's considered malted. That's what malting process is, and that's what they'll do to make the scotch. So it goes to that, and then it goes to the cook, and then it goes to the distillation process, and then it goes into the barrel. What makes scotch different is the peat. And one of the things they talk about in this one is that it's similar to the Johnnie Walker Black. Johnnie Walker Black is a 12-year. This one doesn't have an age statement, so it's at least 4 years, but it's double black, so it makes you wonder if it might be closer to that 12-year mark or somewhere up there. And then it's barreled, if I understand it, it's barreled twice. So double black. And those barrels are peated barrels. They smoke those barrels using smoking peat. And a lot of people don't like that in a scotch. This is not as bad as other scotches. I've had like Laphroaig, and that's as peated as anything that I've ever tasted before. I don't think I've ever tasted anything more peated than Laphroaig. This one isn't that bad. Again, Johnny Walker Blue is my favorite scotch so far. I have tried a few, but that's my favorite one so far, and I do like this one. This bottle has been opened, but I thought, you know what? Let's revisit this one, because I got another one planned for August 31st. We're going to head to Canada for that one. And no, I'm not revisiting the XR. All right, so the Glencairn glass that I'm using, from what I gather, and I could be completely wrong, but I think the Glencairn glass was the glass that was designed for scotch sipping. It has been adopted by the bourbon world, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Glencairn really got its start because of scotch. Again, the Glencairn has this tight snoot, or some would call it a flute, that helps, it helps, I guess, make the flavor, the smells more. It sticks them up your schnoz. Concentrate. That's the word I'm looking for. It concentrates the aromas so that when you. Oh, yeah. Yes. Boy, for a scotch, that's really. Now, this has been open. This has been open for quite a while. I bet this one's been open for a year. Anyway, it might even be a year and a half. I haven't hardly touched it because I'm drinking other stuff. Oh, the peat on this is just so slight. There's just a little bit of smoke. Oh, it's really actually very fruity. It's more fruity than Johnny Walker Blue by far. What is that? I wish I could tell you what that is. It could be apple. Could be pineapple. It's not a citrus. It's not lime, lemon, orange. It's very sweet. Could be maybe a black raspberry. I'm just naming off a bunch of things that it I can't quite pinpoint. It could be a strawberry. I could be getting strawberries off of this. I don't know. Gosh, that's just delightful. My goodness, it's the combination of the whiskey and the peat together is what's causing this strange sensation of fruit. Very sweet, very nice. Mike Ferguson, hey sir, how are you? Every time I look at that KZ guy, he's drinking. What else is there to do? This picture that I took, by the way, just to go back to this picture, this was a celebration. I took this picture when I had finished a screenplay. I'm a screenwriter. I'm a professional writer, and I finished a screenplay, and I was really happy about it. So I was celebrating my finish. So what you're seeing there is papers, and that's the screenplay that I wrote. And that screenplay, by the way, won me a pretty major award. I got Best Voice in an international screenwriting competition, and I even got a manager out of it. So Johnny Walker Black is a good luck charm. If anybody doesn't want you to buy more whiskey, tell them, but honey, it's a good luck charm. Casey said so. He won. Dawn is watching. Hey, Dawn. Isn't it past your bedtime, Dawn? Dawn was with us. We did Widow Jane a while back, and she was with us for that. And we had a blast drinking Widow Jane. But tonight we're doing International Whiskey Day, and we're celebrating international whiskey. And this is a nice scotch. Now I think I read this is only 80 proof. Yeah, this is only 80 proof. Now, I will tell you that the peat on the palate is much stronger than the peat on the nose. It's not as overwhelming as some of the other brands, like, again, Lefroy, but it's not as underwhelming as, like, the Balvenie and some of those scotches. As far as Johnny Walker products go, this is a really, really good one. Again, it's not quite to the level of Johnny Walker Blue. But if you had to put it up against those Johnny Walker Game of Thrones bottles, holy cow, what were they thinking? I had those bottles. I drank one of them. Then somebody gave me another one because they hated it, and I drank it. I didn't like it, though. I drank it, but I didn't like it. All right. Let's see if I can pull out some flavors for you, because right now the thing that's really hit me the most is that peat. And I like peat. Don't get me wrong. I love a nice peated bourbon or peated whiskey. Scotches, I like it. I know a lot of people don't like it. They don't like the flavor of it. It's fine. Drink what you like. We were talking just not too long ago. There's Bear Fight back there. Bear Fight is a U.S. single malt. It's basically a U.S. Scotch. A little lighter on the peat, but it's there, and it's delicious. It's delicious. Now, if you don't like peat at all, you won't like it. I like it. All right. Now, got a really nice body of that single malt. It's a little bit of the grains of the cereal, the toasted cereal type of flavor. Paul's watching. Hey, Paul. Paul's probably at work. Don't get in trouble, Paul. What do we got here? Kevin. Pete, hell no. I know, Kevin, you don't like Pete. You're one of those guys. I know. I get it. I get it. You don't have to like it. I do. Scotch is just its own thing, right? Just like Irish whiskey is its own thing, and people love Irish whiskey because it's Irish whiskey. People love Scotch because it's Scotch. Now, there's a romantic side to it. You've heard of the Romance languages like, French and definitely not German. That's not a Romance language. Italian would be a Romance language. It's that same thing. You gravitate towards something because it appeals to you. So Scotch, for the longest time, it was Scotch in the movies. Now it's bourbons and on television, Yellowstone, things like that. But it used to always be Scotch or brandy or sherry. So Scotch always had this, like a 007 type of, elitism towards it. And it had nothing to do with how it tasted. It was, I'll take a Scotch, shaken not stirred or something like that. Scotch is it is its own animal. It's its own thing. Either you like it or you don't. And again, there are some Scotches that aren't peated very much at all, if any at all. But it is a uniquely Scottish tradition to add peat to the smoke where you char your barrels. I like it. There's very slight sweet notes of vanilla in there, just a little bit. Again, this is mostly a malted barley drink. There's not a lot of other grains in it. There are a few. Corn is one that I think that they do on this. I was actually reading a little bit about it. I didn't come up with a whole lot of research on it because I didn't have a lot of time. I left some websites open. If you want to hear some more about it, I can go to those websites and read, but I don't think you want me to do that. You can always go on the internet and look it up yourself and find out more about the process and what it is. But it's that malted barley that makes up a lot of those whiskeys from across the pond, right? The Irish whiskeys, a lot of them are made up mainly of malted barley. Of course, some may add some corn or some wheat. Corn would be the secondary grain for most of it. Scotch is no different. Malted barley is normally the number one grain, rivaled by corn in some cases. But now some of the Irish whiskeys, for instance, have both malted barley and unmalted barley, the dried barley, whereas I don't know that Scotch is the same. I know that malted barley is a big part of Scotch. And those notes are coming through. Those wonderful malted barley toasted cereals type notes are coming through, along with that wonderful peat. I say wonderful peat because I like it. It's just different. You're drinking Scotch, right? And Scotch is going to have its own character and its own thing, and I happen to enjoy it. Now, one thing about Scotch. We talk about adding water to bourbon to open it up. Well, it does that in a lot of cases. In some cases, it doesn't work very well. It worked quite well on on this one. This one? No. On this one. The Jack Daniel's Bonded that we had last Thursday. Water made this a lot nicer. Made it nicer than neat for me and nicer than ice for me. So, we kind of follow that tradition with scotch, but scotch is almost, you can almost bet on it that for somebody to tell you that you're going to be drinking scotch, you have to add a little bit of water. Scotch and water is almost ubiquitous, like Jack and Coke, right? So scotch and water, so we're going to add a little water to this, and that normally isn't even enough. Some of those pours that they add to scotch can be significant. I've seen people do it. It was more than that. That was about a milliliter. I've seen them add double that, triple that. That seems like too much to me. I'll be honest, it just seems like too much. I've seen them do it. It's supposed to be the proper way to do it. I think I was looking at a video from like Lavagulin or something like that, and now this thing's... And the amount of water he added to that dram of scotch, I was like, are you serious? You're talking about 80 proof pour, and you're adding that much water to it? Will you be able to taste it? Well, we're going to test that theory. Because normally I don't add water to anything that I drink, let alone scotch. I like the scotch the way it is. So we're just going to take this. We're not going to do any ice tonight. We're just going to stick with the water here and see how it presents. See if it opens it up any, what it does. Actually, yeah. It improved everything about this. It improved the mouthfeel, made it a much more buttery. Like it's clinging to the top of my mouth, which I really like that. It just opened up the flavors that much more. The peat is still there. The malted barley flavors of toasted cereal still there. Just amplified it all. Maybe not the peat so much, but everything else. Just there's a sweet note that there's a little bit of cinnamon now. So that sweet note of vanilla, creme brulee, just a little bit coming through. Mmm. Mmm. Something else too. It brought back a fruit note. The fruit was on the nose, but it wasn't on the palate. Now there's a bit of a fruit note coming back, and I'm going to go back to strawberry. I'm just getting something that reminds me of strawberries. I'm glad we did this. You and me. This is nice. I should do scotch more often. I thought about doing a scotch for the one that I thought was going to be August 31st, because I do want to get more into scotch. I want to learn more about scotch. I kind of feel envious that people know so much about scotch. I know a lot about bourbon and rye and American whiskey, because bourbon steward, I learned a lot and I've drank a lot. But scotch, I would really like to know more about the scotches and what's out there. I've been in liquor stores, and I've had people come up wanting a scotch and asking me things because I know a lot about bourbon. And then we go over to the scotch, and I'm like, that one might taste good. I feel like I'm completely useless when it comes to that. So I want to know more about scotches. I want to start getting into scotch as much as I have everything else, just so I can speak to it with some knowledge and some experience. Because I think the people that I talk to in the liquor stores appreciate that. I don't know if you guys do it. I do it all the time. I'm in a liquor. I've sold so much liquor for the liquor stores everywhere I go. It doesn't matter where I go. I always talk to the people that are looking. Do you know what you like? Do you know what you're looking for? Oh, I was hoping to find some Eagle Rares, some Blantons. Okay, but do you know what you like? Because if you like those, I can point you to some stuff that you'll like. Oh no, I really just wanted some Buffalo Trace. Tater. There's so much good stuff out there. I follow the forums. All of them are talking about Buffalo Trace stuff. Yeah, it's good. I get it. There's other stuff out there. Like scotch. And mellow corn. Did you know that mellow corn is bottled in bond? Just saying. All right. This was a good idea. I'm glad I found out this was today. I'm glad I'm doing this because this is really tasty. I'm really enjoying this a lot. I'm going to pour myself another one when we're done with this, and I'm going to go upstairs, and I'm just going to slowly slowly enjoy an evening with my bottle of scotch. So, oh, we got people talking. Why don't you get a job at a liquor store? You know, you got to save some of that for your sound bit intro. Yeah, wouldn't it be fun? Why don't I try to work at a liquor store? I did try to work at a liquor store. I went in and I talked to the owner of the store. I got the interview process and everything. And I knew, this is my assumption. I didn't get called back. They didn't want me in for a second interview. I never heard from them again. And I quite frankly believe it's because I knew too much. If you know too much, if you're qualified to do the job. Now, I could be completely wrong. They do have some people up there that know what they're talking about, and they're working there. So it could be two things. It could be either that I knew too much and therefore would cost too much to hire, or it's because I've owned my own companies for, gosh, this is 22 years that I've owned my own companies. And I've owned a lot of companies. It hasn't just been one or two. I've owned quite a few companies. Now, they didn't all survive. They didn't all succeed. But I've been the CEO of, I don't know, at least half a dozen companies over the years. And some employers don't want entrepreneurs. They want employees. Okay. It could be one of those things. It could be something. I don't know. Somebody said something. I want to find it. Have a great night. Thank you. I will. All right, so I did try, and I may try again one of these days because I think it'd be fun. But what I'd really like to do, I don't think I want to work in a liquor store as much as I do. I would like to bartend. I just think that would be fun to expand that skill set. Be able to bring the bourbon steward thing into bartending. I thought about doing an entrepreneurial venture where, you know how people have like kegs and stuff when they get married? What if I had a mobile bar that was a bourbon bar? I thought about something like that, where people would come up and order their scotches and their this and their that, and it would give me the opportunity to talk about what it is that they're drinking, if they even cared. It's an event, so maybe they would care, maybe they won't. But the guys that sit at the bar and drink and talk to me might care. The guys that are just, oh, let's do shots! Bye-bye. Go hit on a bridesmaid. That's what you're here to do. Go puke. It would do you some good. All right, one more swallow. The nice thing about this, honestly, that's with a milliliter of water on it, maybe a little more. This is an 80 proof pour, and normally I'm really a downer about adding water to an 80 proof pour. But this one in particular, because of what it added in flavor, it didn't kill the experience of the mouthfeel with the 80 proof pour. It's not a strong drink to begin with, but the adding of the water to it, thank you for the like. Thank you. Appreciate that. Adding the water to it did not did not take away from its mouthfeel as far as the ethanol burn, because it wasn't that much to begin with. It did add to the mouthfeel as far as the butteriness, and it did add to the flavor component. So the rest of the night when I'm drinking some of this, I'm not going to go too far, but as I'm drinking this, I am going to continue to add water to it because it didn't adversely affect it. It did make it better. Just that much, but it's better. So anyway, thank you for joining me on International. Thank you for, a couple more likes. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on International Whiskey Day. Again, I didn't know it was here, so I kind of had to rush through it, and look at all those likes. Oh, you guys are too kind. I had to kind of rush through it, but I'm glad I had this on hand, and I'm glad it was open, and I'm glad it had a chance to sit. Michael David. Oh, wow. That's a name and a face and a voice and a story I haven't heard in a long time. Well, I'm glad you're here, Michael. Glad you're here. Thank you. We're at the end. But I'm still glad you're here, and I'm glad you said hello and gave me a like. So thank you for that as well. All right, so on Thursday we're going to come back and we're going to do what I promised you we were going to do, and that would be the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash. Now, I have a confession. I told you I was going to open it and I was going to let it sit. That's true. I did taste it. I'm not going to tell you what I thought of it until Thursday at 7 o'clock. We're going to come back and do a Bourbcast on the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash. Mash? Mash. But I did go against what I said I was going to do, and I did open it. So, but we're going to review this one, and we're going to do it fairly and give you all the information. We'll do the research. Something I didn't do for the Double Black tonight. I'll do all the research so you know what you're talking about, what I'm talking about, what we're talking about when it comes to the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash. All I know about it so far is there are 3 distinct whiskeys. Corn whiskey, a rye whiskey, and a malted barley whiskey, single malt, that all had to be, as far as I understand it correctly, this is what I read, they all had to be separately bottled and bond, and at the end of their aging process, they were then blended. That's what I took away so far. So I'll get into this more deeply, and then we'll talk about this one more in depth on Thursday back at 7 o'clock. For those of you who joined at 7 o'clock tonight and I wasn't here, I'm sorry, I forgot. I had a meeting tonight, I couldn't miss it, but we're here now, and you're here too, and thank you for joining me so late at night, I appreciate it. But we're going to do this one on Thursday at 7 o'clock as promised. So we will see you then. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Happy International Whiskey Day, everybody. Have the dram that you like, even if it doesn't have peat in it, because that's okay. Drink what you like on International Whiskey Day. See you Thursday.